Metroid High School. Hello, people. This is kinda a weird story, but I think it's cool, so I hope you like it. This is my first story, so no flammies. Thanks. K. LOL. Chapter 1. The Big Dance. It was 3 days before the big dance. Ridley walked up to Samus. He was really nervous. He'd never gone on a date before, and Smaeus was really, really pretty. So he finally got enough courage up and went up to her locker.
Uh, Samus?
Samus looked up. What do you want?
Uh, do you, d- d- do you want to go to the dance with me?
Samus said, okay. Ridley was really, really happy. He was going to go on his first big date.
Wow,
Thought Ridley.
I hope Samus is my girlfriend. I'm the luckiest guy in the damn school.
3 days later, it was the big dance. Everyone was there. Hey, Ridley, a voice sneered.
Damn it!
Exclaimed Ridley.
Oh no, it's Kraid and his gang.
Over walked Kraid and his cronies. What do you want, blubber brain? Samus inquisited. Well. Looks like little Ridley's got himself a girlfriend. Ooh! Watch it, blubber brain, or I'll blow you and your little crew way up in the air, Samus responded. Kraid's eyes narrowed. Looks like you'll win this time. But don't you worry, we'll be back. Come on, boys, Kraid declared. Everyone in Kraid's gang laughed and walked away. Samus and Ridley were all alone.
Don't mind those damn people, Samus. They're stupid people.
Yeah, I know, answered Samus. Then the music started playing really slow. People everywhere started slow dancing.
Hey, Samus, do you want to dance?
Ridley proposed. Samus looked down. I never really learned how to dance before, she declared. Ridley smiled.
Don't worry, it's easy.
Samus smiled nervously. Okay. And they started to dance. Wow, Samus alleged. It's really easy. And they danced until it was time to go home. At the end of the night, Samus and Ridley were walking home.
Samus? I love you,
Ridley declared. Really? Inquired Samus.
Yeah.
Ridley.
Yeah, Samus.
I love you too, Samus disturbed. And then in the soft moonlight, the two lovers kissed. But then it was cut short because Samus had to go home now.
See you tomorrow, Samus,
Ridley exclaimed.
Damn,
Thought Ridley.
I'm the luckiest guy in the world.
Ooh, a Cliffy. Please review. Thank you so much for the good reviews. I'm so sorry it took so long to update, but I'll try to write more often now. Okay, talk too much, here we go. Chapter 2, Sleepover of Surprises, Part 1. One day, Samus and Ridley and her friends, Ted, Mandy, Robbie, 111, Samus Ridley Forever, 2006, Helen, and Tio Wan were at a sleepover. Samus's parents were off on a business trip and weren't at home, so they could do whatever. What should we do now? Samus quizzed her friends. I know, declared Ted. Let's play Truth or Dare. True dat, Samus and Co. said. I don't know how to play, confessed Tio Wan. Tio Wan, everyone groaned. Then they laughed really loud. Ha ha ha! Except 111 Samus Ridley for Eva 2006, who was too cool to laugh. It's real easy, said Helen, who'd been Tio Wan's neighbor and best friend since kindergarten. Helen and Tio Wan secretly liked each other, but were always too afraid to tell each other their true felonies. All you have to do is to take turns and ask true or dare. Then the person will choose one, and you have to choose a question for them that they have to answer no matter what. And if they choose dare, then you choose a dare that they have to do, and it's really funny, explained Helen. Gay, declared Tio Wan. Everyone cheered.
How about Samus goes first?
Risley proposed slyly. Oh, brother, Samus groaned. Looks like I'm out of damn luck. Samus conceded.
Truth or dare?
Ridley smiled like a bear. Truth.
Riddle me this,
riddled Ridley.
Have you ever stolen something?
All eyes turned to Samus as she fiddled with her fingers. Well, there was this one time.
Go on,
Ridley maniacally stated. Well, I was at Keaton's General Store, and there was this Green Day CD I wanted. I didn't have enough money, so... Well, Samus was embarrassed.
Ha 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 ha!
Ridley expressed himself really loud. 111 Samus Ridley for Eva 2006 sighed, rolling her eyes. You and your petty crimes, especially for such a sellout band. Wow, you're so angsty, noticed Ted. 111 Samus Ridley for Eva 2006 moaned and went back to filing her nails with a nail filer. Everyone laughed really loud. Ha ha ha! Except 111 Samus Ridley for Eva 2006, who the joke was directed at.
Okay. I think it's Ted's turn.
What the well, okay, cool, whatever, Ted coolly replied with a snap. Everyone rolled their eyes and giggled except for 111 Samus Ridley for Eva 2006, who was too busy listening to My Chemical Romance on her iPod Nano. What do you choose? Everyone wondered. Dare, Ted de-snapped. Well then, Mr. Snappy, let's see you snap at this one, was Samu's clever remark. Everyone laughed except for 111 Samus Ridley for Eva 2006, who couldn't hear because her iPod was too loud. We're going to spin a bottle and you have to kiss whoever the bottle lands on. Oh no, Ted lamented. But what if it's Tio Wan? Well, you have to do anyway, because that's the rules of the game, Samus affirmed. I have a bottle, Mandy made known to the people. The bottle spun around in Arunad and Arundo until it finally landed on 111 Samus Ridley for Eva 2006. Looks like I have to kiss 111 Samus Ridley for Eva 2006, Ted announced. Very well. 111 Samus Ridley for Eva 2006 angstily agreed to. But this is only for this stupid game. You never have or ever will have a chance with me. Yeah, okay, Ted mentioned, and he sneakily stalked over to 111 Samus Ridley for Eva 2006 and got real close. That's just over with. Then Ted leaned down and gave her a kiss, and everyone giggles, and he tried to put his hands in her hair, but she did not let him, and she slapped him, and it hurt because she was really strong. In your dreams, blubber brain. 111 Samus Ridley for Eva 2006 pwned. Hey, my brain is not made out of rubber, Ted pointed out. I'm not so sure about that, Robbie snapped back. Hey! Everyone laughed except 111 Samus Ridley for Eva 2006, who didn't think the joke was very funny. Okay. It's Tio Wan's turn, everyone agreed. Correct, Tio Wan. Aww. I chose truth. Okay, we get to ask one question, Samus reminded Tio Wan. What is your deepest, darkest secret? Tio-wan looked nervous. I like someone in this room. That statement brought a lot of commotion because everyone wanted to know who Tio-wan liked except 111 Samus Ridley for EVA 2006, who was completely uninterested. Is it Samus? Is it Mandy? Is it 111 Samus Ridley for EVA 2006? Actually, Tio-wan wrapped his arm around Helen, who was sitting next to him, and closed in and gave her a very big kiss. Everyone cheered and clapped their hands except for 111 Samus Ridley for EVA 2006, who was downstairs pouring herself a glass of lemonade. Hello, Tio-wan said after they were done kissing. I've always loved you since I met you, but I was too afraid to tell you. Tio-wan, I love you too, Helen confirmed. And the two lovebirds kissed again and again until everyone told them to stop, except for 111 Samus Ridley Forever 2006, who wasn't back from getting a soda yet. Damn, that's a lot of liquid. Okay, Tio-wan shouted. Let's finish the game. Okay, if you want me to write more, then please review. Who knows what will happen next? Okay, comma. Okay, everyone, I read a lot more fanfiction now, and I think it's time Metroid High School should take on a darker tone now. I'm so sorry that the updates have been so far apart. But hey, I only do the best I can, right? Thanks for the reviews. BTW, this chapter is dedicated to Game-Dude, who inspired me to start writing again. Thank you! Chapter 3, Samus is pregnant. Wow, okay. Samus and Ridley had been going out for 6 months now. It was a coincidence, considering that most teenage relationships exist for 2 months, according to a video. Okay. Everyone was really surprised because they hadn't expected the relationship to last so long. Not even Sames or Ridley thought it would last so long, and that says things. Right now, Samus and Ridley were at Ridley's house. Ridley's parents weren't at home because of a business trip, and Samsu didn't have to be home until 1 o'clock. Right now, it was only 11:30. They were on the couch, and it was quiet.
So, Samus, what do you think of world politics?
Ridley made conversely. Ridley, I don't care about things like that, Samus asserted. Ridley admitted. There was a kind of silence that happens when people don't know what to say to each other in a relationship, but Ridley had something on his mind.
Samus?
Ridley approached. Yes, Ridley? Samus' question answered.
You know how, well, we've been going out for a long time, longer than the average, and well...
I agree, Samus nodded.
Well, you know how, you see...
Ridley seemed unholy. Ridley, I understand what you mean. Samus understood.
Samus, are you sure about?
Ridley started, but it was too late. It started as an innocent kiss, and ended up as much more than they could bargain for. The next morning, Samus wasn't sure where she was. Then she remembered that she was at Ridley's house. Then she noticed that she was in Ridley's bed. Then she noticed that she was naked. Samus woke up the whole neighborhood.
Samus, is something wrong?
Ridley noticed as he woke up.
Oh no!
He fearfully exclaimed. Ridley, what if... Samus worried. Ridley was cooler and didn't lose his cool.
Oh, it's okay. My friend told me that it can't happen the first time, so never worry. It's okay.
Ridley ascertained. Okay. Samus tried to convince herself. After all, who doesn't think it could happen? It could happen after just one time. Unfortunately, they were dead wrong. It had been some weeks since Samus was at Helen's house. Mandy and 111 Samus Ridley Forever 2006 were there too. It was the morning and Samus was feeling a little sick. The problem was, everyone else was healthy and her friends and family. So it wasn't likely the cold or the cholera. Something was up, and Helen was about ready to explode. Samus, I think we have an emergency, Helen imploded. Okay, calm down, Mandy controlled. She was the kind of girls who could keep their cool in a disaster. Samus, we're all worried, but there's only one way to be sure, implied Mandy. Samus looked at her feet. But where do I get one of those? Samus speculated. 111 Samus Ridley for Eva 2006 broke the silence. I have one. 111 Samus Ridley for Eva 2006 made known. She reached in her black handbag and picked up a small wrapper with something in it. Everyone was shrouded in disbelief. 111 Samus Ridley for Eva 2006. Why do you have a pregnancy test in your pocket? Helen posed. Everyone except 111 Samus Ridley for Eva 2006 thought it was a reasonable question. 111 Samus Ridley for Eva 2006 rolled her eyes. Dude, I have a life, you know. 111 Samus Ridley for Eva 2006 controversially declared. Okay then, Helen calmed down. The only way to be safe is, well... Samus, are you ready? Helen pried. Samus was not ready, but it was the only way she could be safe. Okay, Samus decided. It's time. Samus was in Helen's bathroom. She couldn't believe this was happening. No! She wasn't going to think about it! Samus tried to calm down, but it was too hard. Only 2 minutes. 1 minute. Samus held her breath and took a look. Oh no! No! Samus distrusted. Say it ain't so. Somewhere in the town, a phone was ringing. It was Ridley's cell phone. Ridley picked it up. Hello? Ridley answered. He was confused because on the other end of the phone there was silence. Then he heard Samus say 4 words that would change her life. Ridley? I'm pregnant. Sorry if there's any typos. I'm terrible at that kind of thing. This will probably end up being about 3 parts of the story. Look out for part 2 coming soon. Or whenever. BTW, I had to edit some parts out of this to make it PG-13. So if you want the full chapter, just email me, okay? And review, RNR. Hello, everyone. Thanks you so much for the reviews. I love you all, except for Hunter001, who was so mean. Anyway, this chapter is kind of a mystery and a conspiracy, so hang tight. Chapter 4. The Cholera Conspiracy. Ridley could not believe it. In fact, he originally suspected conspiracy, but it was much more than he could expect. He'd bitten off far too much to chew, and now no conspiracy could explain the situation he's landed himself in. Or could it? Samus was at Dr. Bonis's office to have her baby checked. She was worried because she'd never been pregnant before. Ridley had told her not to worry, that it would all work out, but Samus couldn't help but feel that Ridley was hiding something from her. Little did she know that there was a surprise on the horizon. Samus, there is a problem, Dr. Bonis addressed. Samus was not amused. What is it? Samus cautiously gandered. It seems that there was a repercussion of your sins, Dr. Bonis scolded. Samus was shocked by the lack of religious toleration in the establishment. What seems to be the issue? Samus countered as she narrows her eyes. I don't know how to say this, but you've got... Samus held her breath and could not believe what she heard next. It was a tragedy in the making, and she was the protagonist. The cholera. Samus fell on her bed and was broken into tears. It was impossible. It was impractical. There was no way it could have happened, but it did. Samus was crying because her life was ruined by the cholera. But there was another reason. Because Ridley had to have gotten the cholera from someone else, and Ridley never mentioned anything of the sort. It was a mystery, and Samus was trying to find out. Around that time, Helen decided to give her friend a call. She was worried because Samus had just experienced her first pregnancy exam, and it was time to hear the results. Samus' phone rang and she picked it up. Hello? She inquired the person on the receiving line. Samus, how did it go? Helen grilled her girlfriend. Helen, there was a surprise. Samus tearfully made known to her peer. Is it a good surprise? Helen hoped for the best. Samus paused to catch her cool and composure. Helen, I have the cholera, she declared with vengeance. Yeah. Ha. Yeah. Exclaimed Helen with the scream of the gods. It couldn't be. But then, maybe. Samus, there must be something you should know. 111 Samus Ridley Forever 2006. She has the cholera too. Samus hung up the phone. She was in disbelief. It made sense, but it couldn't be true. It was too much of a conspiracy for the truth. Or was it? For the third time a phone had rang. Ridley cautiously picked it up, not knowing the full life consequences on the other end. It was Samus. She was disappointing. Ridley, have you had an affair with 111 Samus Ridley Forever 2006? Samus scorned. Ridley was backed into a corner. It was time for this conspiracy to be brought to an end.
Samus, a long time ago, before you and I were a pair, 111 Samus Ridley Forever 2006 and I, well...
Samus was embarrassed. Ridley, you should have told me! Now I have the cholera! I can't believe you! Side-splitted Samus. I was too much to handle.
Samus, I...
started Ridley before he was cut off by his scorned girlfriend. Save it, Samus delivered with dark passion. I need time. Time. Sorry that it was kind of a short chapter, but I have big surprises coming soon. By the way, I'm looking for people as secondary characters in the next few chapters. If you want to be included in the story, just send a review and put the name that you want me to use in the story. This is going to be so cool. Until next time, A/N review R&R. Hi people. Thank you everyone for all the reviews and not the flames. Grrr. Also, thanks to Curventus who this chapter is dedicated to. The sea will be long, so RR. Also, I learned some tricks from a poetry conference I went to in Skull, so I spiced things up with words. Chapter 5. The Dark Surprise. Time. 3 weeks had passed since the cholera conspiracy, and for Samus it was just the beginning. Dark lights had confused her soul, and it was a burden she could not comprehend. She sat in her bed, grasping the straws that had come loose, straws that poising the water of life. What? Lightness. Darkness. Samus could not understand the feelings that gripped her apart over the 3 weeks. Forces were turning her away. But it was a force that could not be explained with the words. Grip was squeezing her like a lemon. The real kind. It was like a dream. Only this time it was for real. Fake. Reality. It sat acting like a chainsaw, and she could not go back to Ridley. Not now. Not like the past. She knew she still was loved, but there was something that was impossible to ever go back. Temporary. Longevity. All of a sudden, Samus screamed. She was losing control over her conscience, and there was a new force rising. It was like Samus. Only it was Dark Samus instead. She could barely fight to take over her actions, and she was becoming wired. It was impossible to know what would happen next until it happened. This was her cholera, but soon she knew it could not contain. Confession. Possession? Obsession. Ridley knew there was a crisis, and he was meeting at his house. There was also Ted, Robbie, Tio1, and Smiley, the new kid. The tension was emergency, and it was about to implode.
What am I gonna do?
Detonated Ridley. Dude, calm down, it's all cool, Smiley conformed. I'm not so sure that's the great assuage. Ted confusingly used vocabulary that not everyone knew. Okay, everyone, we need not to panic and we need to think of a solution, Tio1 dictated. Everyone was quiet and they all thought about the problem. It was quiet conundrum, and there was not a solution anyone could think of. Samus was not forgiving, and especially she was acting strange, like she was becoming dark. Ridley did not like to think about this, and he didn't. Little did he know that this was much more to think than he, though. If I was you, I'd apologize to the girl and say I'm sorry, Smiley permitted cool. People agreed with this, but Ridley was not so cleverly amused.
But when will I do?
Ridley contended. Tomorrow, everyone consented, and it was agreed. But little did the meeting know that there was a new darkness on the horizon. Darkness. It was a day at Metroid High School, and things were bright and sunny. It was like the day that Ridley asked out Samus, but it was not that day ago. Ridley was ready to apologize, but something was strange. There was a crowd, and Ridley wanted to see what the commotion was. It turned out there was a new kid, and he wore a black cloak with some chains, and he had blue hair that was natural that he didn't dye. When he walked, he was hot angsty, and he had a bad ass. When someone asked him what his name was, he said it was Cervantes.
Cervantes?
Ridley engraved in stone? It was a name he never knew, but he would never forget. You see, there was a problem that was right around the corner, and Ridley could not bargain for the fortune. Samus was on a chair being angsty, and Cervantes thought that she was her type. He sat down next to her and began to woo her with his color. Hello, Cervantes began. Hi, returned Samus. You look very beautiful and you're angsty, Cervantes related. I'll see you around. Samus was amazed by this man. He thought he was beautiful, and they just met. But was angsty good? No. Yes, no, yes. No, yes. Samus was battling herself, and she almost missed the boat. fuck does that mean? She would think about this later, but not later as she decided. Inside her head, there was another battle. Samus against Dark Samus. Cholera against Samus. It was a battle that could not be broken, and no surrogate could explain the situation. It was too late. Too late. Too late. After school, Samus was confronted by Ridley, who was anticipated. The day had been very long, and he was ready to make up for the problems he had created. But was Samus?
I'm sorry.
Ridley apologized to little effect. It's too late for love. Samus deflated his balloon. Ridley was out of his mind.
But what are you two talking about?
He disillusioned. Ridley, I'm Corventa's girlfriend now. Samus shocked the populace. Time stood still but kept going for Ridley. This was impossible to comprehend.
What the hell? But Samus, what about?
But Ridley was cut off because Corventes came out of the door and dared with debonair. Goodbye, Samus ultimated, and Ridley was left alone in the cold. Too old. Too cold. Samus fought with Dark Samus for control. She could not believe she dumped her boyfriend, but it was too late. Or not. Dark Samus, you suck. Badmouth Samus. Ha ha ha, little girl. The Cholera will soon devour you, and I will control your body. Dark Samus snapped back. Samus snarled at her opponent and continued the battle that would determine. Corventes and Samus went to many places that were cool, like double quote hot topic on double quote, and other places that angsty cool people chill. They ate some things, but the date was over pretty quick than it had started. Samus remembered her first date with Ridley, but Dark Samus was in control and there was no stopping the lust. Let's go to my house, Corventes proposed. Samus was wary of this request, but she was overcome with passion and was battled by the Cholera, her good judgment. There was little to do now. Just hope. At Ridley's house, Ridley was depressed. He'd screwed up his relationship, and now he was listening to depressing music. He was afraid that he might become emo, and it was likely. More likely than he could think. He also was thinking about darker things, but it wasn't true. No, it wasn't. This was Ridley's battle. He had things to overcome as well, if he could. Samus was naked and passionate just like that long ago. But it was different. Because it wasn't Ridley, it was Corventes. She was exploding in lust, but she kept feeling that it was wrong. But Dark Samus was in control. There was little she could do. This day had been a mind blow. It was only going to get worse from here, she knew. As Samus fell asleep in Corventes, murky thoughts clothed her mind. Dark, light, Ridley, Corventes, love, lust, redemption. This chapter was dark but good. I have another on the way, so don't worry, and R&R if you please. Thanks to everyone whose name I used, and if you want your name used, just tell me. Hope you liked LOL. Hello everyone. A lot has happened since last time I wrote MHS. Thank you for everyone has reviewed. I love you all. This chapter is going to different. And it is what happens before Samus meets Ridley, like a prequel, LOL. I was reading some high school fics, and I realized that not much has actually happened in high school, so I decided to have just that. I might have another chapter like this, but don't worry. You'll find out what happened with Samus and Ridley soon. Also, please sign up for help make Ridley Samus canon. I know people say companies don't care about petitions, but what about women's rights? I don't get that. Go to sign up, please, and make a difference. This chapter is dedicated to Game-Dude, who inspired me to write more. And my Boyfriend Cervantes, who I'm in love. Okay, no talk, read. Why do I do this to myself? Chapter 6, Samus joins the football team, prequel 1. Green, ring, bring. What the shit? Samus Aran woke from slumber and realized the clock was broken. It was late for school. Fozen, I'm late for tests. Samus qualmed as she dressed from her clothes. Samus was not the kind of girl who obsesses over clothes and popular songs, so she did not worry about appearances, even though she still was pretty smoking hot. At least Ridley, lol. Fuck.
Late again, I see.
Snip quipped Mrs. Chozo. Samus is adopted. Her parents were killed from uncounted reason like in games. No time for talks, ma'am. I must catch the bell. Samus average keened and left Mrs. Chozo and her dog Sparky in dust and even forget her lunch. What are we going to do with you? Sarcasm the missus. She turned on midwife shows like Dr. Phil and Judge Alex and rhetoriced with Sudoku, not Suicide the game. Journey songs. Out of breath, Samus stealthed into homeroom in time so her nun teacher... Oh, man. Oh, man. Really? Okay. That's what it says. Okay. All right. Well, okay. All right. I'll say it. Out of brief, Samus stealthed into homeroom in time so her nun teacher, Mother Brain, would not notice and succeeded it just like in Metroid Fusion. She sat down next to her friend Amy, who was as pretty as Samus and had light red hair that sparkled in sun. Amy was kind of obsessed with fantasy stuff and was obsessed with dragons and Harry Potter and Aragon and stuffs. They were just in time for announcements. And now the news, casted Principal Gunpei Yokoi. Today there are football trying-outs for every sex, even girls. Classrooms giggled around the word, he said, but Sam's was intrigued. Football is a sport for boys, but what about girls? After all, Amelia Armstrong made it clear that girls could do things as boys, so why not Samus, who is pretty damn good at the ball? Also, Kraden Gang, please no more of the hazing or suspension will ensue, rubber stemoed Principal Yokoi. All is all. All of Samus' girlfriends, not the love kind girls. Oh, man above, give me strength. Not the love kind, girls can be friends, not gay. All right. We're talking about boys and hot and music, but Samus was phased because she was thinking about football. Earth the sames, Mandy levied. Do you agree that Noxus is the hottest than even Zac Efron or Ted Emanuel? Well, yeah, whatever. Samus coldly brushed and strode off for practice. What's her knit? Was all girlfriends could wonder as Samus strolled down halls and signed to all for practice. When Smose signs up for trying football, an unexpected harassment of peer pressure happens. Ew, Samus is joining the football team, rowdied Kraid and his crowny gang. They also made fun of Samus for parts of girls that are not to be spoken. Unexpectable, scorned Mother Brain, since she was a nun and was not tolerant about jokes such as that. But it was too late because everyone was laughing at Samus for being a girl for football. Even her girlfriend sticked to Tad Snavely. Samus was running away, but she heard a voice that sounded shady but well-meaning. Psst. You. I have a solution, avouched the voice. Samus looked, and it was Trace. A kid that seemed that he was even more into sketchy than into cool. Into school. That's what it says, into school. If you want help, You'll need to talk to the game-dude, Trace commanded. Take me, said Miss Samus, who was kind of worried that the situation might turn into peer pressure and even drugs. That was Egger. For help for football. The room she was taken to was secret, and not even a teacher could find it. There were computers and monitors everywhere the eye could see, with darkness and even some things that kids shouldn't sell or do in school. In the middle was a figure in a swivel chair that was facing the other side. Well, what do we have? Swilleved around the game-dude. Noon knew his name, but he was sort of like the king or puppet master or mafia of the school. Whenever there was a Toruble, he was sure a safe bet. Trace sly smiled. Our girl here has a bit of trouble fitting in on football and needs some help from underground. Trace blazoned. The game-dude took a bit of description at Samus and nodded and swiveled away. All sampled, he dictated. You've been quite a help to me in the past, like when you beat up Kraid, when you owed me money. I may be able to help you out. Samus was puzzled. However can it work? She pondered aloud. The game-dude amused. Just guys. There were many people who were trying out at football, and practice was about to begin. What about Samus? All of suddenly, a boy with a metal suite, even with a helmet and arm cannon and special features, came in. Everyone was surprised because they did not recognize the figure, and they thought the suit was Dan. But then Coach Houston came in and started the practice.
All right, everybody, it looks like to begin. Since there are no girls, it looks like we can talk about sex and man stuff.
Coach Houston womanized. Since boys are pigs, especially teens, everyone lugged loud and made sounds except for Samus, who was trying to fit in and not seem uncomfortable.
You in the metal suit, what is her name and what the hell?
Houston profaned. Samus shuffled her fet. My name's is... Oh my gosh, I can't believe this. Seriously. Oh my gosh. My name's is Justin Bailey, and I have to have this suit because I'm allergic to pollutants like global warming, stuttered Samus.
Sap, liberal,
murmured Houston.
Okay, anyway, take positions and play the ball.
Everyone took positions. Samus decided to be a run-backer. Adam Malovich was a quarterback. Weevil, Spire, and Kraid were linbacks, and Key Hunter and Candon were a wide retriever. What's this, Airbud? There were others, but unimportance. The game went well, and Samus was a star. Even Adam, the quarterback, was impressed. Hey, Justin, we should hang sometime. You seem cool. Adam accepted her. He did not know Samus was a girl, but how would anyone? Okay. Samus' gruff voice masked and was excited that Adam thought she was cool. Wow.
Mr. Bailey, please come to my office.
Houston bumbled. Samus was still in power suit and went inside. Isn't she pregnant? How is she playing football if she's pregnant? There was football trophies and a portrait of Gary Ford on the wall. AN, my friend explained that Gary Ford was offered to be on the NFL but decided to run for president instead. I don't know about history, but hey, not bad.
Justin, you seem to be good at football,
the coach complimented.
Maybe you'll be the NFL or even a lawyer. Oh, yeah. I've got a doctorate.
Samus white-lied. She left the coach and ran to change out of the power suit that was sweaty. She took a shower and then went to sleep. The next day, there was a big game. The team was training, and Adam was taking time to know Samus or Justin. So, Justin, you must be new to MHS, Adam keenly observed. I'm pretty sure that means Metroid High School, by the way. Samus was nervous, but nodded. That's cool. If you need any help, just call and I'll assist. Adam covenanted. I see. Thanks, Samus. Time for the game. The game started and everything did good. Samus played as well as Peyton Brady. And was a accession to the team. They were losing only 23-22 in the last 30 seconds. The ball was thrown to Samus and she touched down, but only one problem. The helmet came off! The game was won, but everyone was shocking. Ew, girl! Crooned Kraid and the gang, and Samus was embarrassed. Houston was freaking out because of the girl on team, but Adam stood in shock. Justin, you're Samus? Adam was shocked into submission. Samus was embarrassed. You're fired! Houston trumped, but Adam stepped in. If she's fired, I'm fired, Adam intervened.
What the hell?
Flustered the coach, but he had to give in because of civil rights amendments in the law. But there was still a problem left.
But Samus, there's only one room for showering.
Samus was shocked for 10 seconds and was almost embarrassing. But then she decided that, hey, girls can do anything as boys, even showering. Everyone clapped for the first girl ever to play football in Metroid High School. And she was awarded, it does say awarded in fairness, by Principal Yokoi for her attendance. Who knows? Maybe a championship. And as for Adam, well, it might be love. Conceivably, LOL, funny twist. Okay, thanks for reading, and remember to review and sign the petitions. Also, please read my internet boy friend stuff, especially the Warhammer thing and his favorite Pirates of the Caribbean Freight Tran Confessions. As always, please tell me if you want to be in the story, and you will. More soon, RR. Hello! Okay, I'm so sorry that I took so long to write again. Thanks for everyone staying the course and remembering the story. That's so cool! 52 reviews, even bads are good. Okay, lots have things happened since last time, and I'm sorry it's been a time. Cervantes and I aren't internet dating only friends now, but we're still happy and it's pretty cool. He still wants people to read things. He's going to have new stuff soon, so check her out. Also, I've taken new classes like special English to learn new words and even make some up. My friends made a new law that we can't use said anymore in stories, so there's more spice and less crap. You catch the drift? Also, I've learned more politics and understandings from Cervantes, so there'll be referencing to today's issues if you notice because they're hidden. This chapter is dedicated to Sir Sarcasm because even though you're not being real and mean, the joke's on you because you wrote a nice review even though you're mean, so ha! Chapter 7 Election Insurrection. Samus Aran, what the hell? Samus Aran, what the hell? Mrs. Chozo freaked out at the teen. Samus had powers, but not mind control, so she couldn't figure the deal. Unfortunately, the deal was clear because Samus had a D in Histoidal and Chozo was a major. Samus, this is unacceptable under this house. You must succeed or there will be capital punishment. Are you fucking kidding me? Samus de facto mom Samus wanted to be a teen in Dissent and Hyrule, but she was afraid of her legal guardian and didn't want to make moves that would make things mad, or she wouldn't be able to go to the mall with Helen and Mandy anymore, and what about even boys? Okay, I'll think of something. Samus casualed as she ran off to classes, leaving Chozo Mom in a dust bowl. Minorities. Mrs. Chozo backslash. Okay. Alright, it's gonna be alright. In school hadn't begun, but Samus was taking time to convey the messages to her friends. It was almost an apocalypse. My History D is going to destroy my life, Samus exclaimed to everyone in the entire city who heard. Even construction workers dropped. Okay, dude, it's not the end of the world yet. There still could be time. Situation controlled Amy, who tried her best from turning it into a disaster. But everyone knew a problem. It was only 2 weeks until grades were in. And what was there to do? Questions were stopped because... Hello and slip deepen, cop flop, clippin, slip ditch, fizzle sliz. Principal Hokoi embarrassed. He tried to be teen, but everyone only groaned and logged at his lack of legit, and he was embarrassed, but the news continued. Today the majority legislator decided that if anyone in the state becomes class president, that they have an automated A in history from experience and leadership. The principal announced to populace. Not everyone cared about politic crap, but Samus liked the A clause. Note clauses are in a constitution or law or something, and it says that things happen like freedom or A's and things. In other news, class president Condon was impeached yesterday because of stealing school money and using it to fund hedges and parking lot and buy pork battle for the hockey team, so they're going to be a total recall on next Tuesday. The class knew that Condon was hungry for power and food. But WoW would have guessed his Nixonics. And who would be drafted? Samus was on her way out of school from another day of MHS when she heard a sketch voice echo down the corridor. Psst. Hello? Samus warded off spirits, but it wasn't a spirit, it was only Trace. Samus, the game dude was black hacking into Power School and he noticed the problem with your history in the D. Trace intonated. Normally, Samus would have freaked from the breach of Second Amendment, but she knew that Trace was a man of fine points. What are you getting to? Samus cut the chase. Hasty girl. Trace smiled with a grin. The thing is that the game dude and I formed an exploratory commission. We've decided that you'd be a possible candidate to lead the school in the total recall. And if you win, then... Trace left the rest up to Samus' imagination. Samus had never thought about policy and governmental duty before, but this was an intrigue because she remembered the new A clause from the news this morning and knew that if she didn't get an A somehow, that she'd have to take a fifth or suffer the consequence. I'll think about it. Samus non-committed, but secretly everyone knew the realties. It was going to be an election, but would there be an insurrection? The next day school started. Samus had already cleansed her mind and her decision was clear. But first she had to choose to go to a party. She knew from school news that Republicans like to kill trees, but she liked Tress, so she became Democratic. Okay, welcome to the Democrat caucus. Invited Amy to everyone because she was the leader woman of the Democrats in school committee. And she could run meetings and primaries and was also a speaker in school senate, but no one cares about student council, so whatever. Today is when we choose who will run for president, so if there are nominations, now's the time to commit, advocated Amy. There were heads that rolled, but in the end, people made decisions. I nominate Tia Wan, Helen endorsed her favorite boyfriend. Some people laughed at his name, but they were kicked out of the party because of anti-immigration. Okay, are there other nominees? Amy wondered aloud to the community. I nominate Samus, Adam Malkovich. He and Samus were almost going out, so this was a shoo-in. AN, this is before Samus and Ridley met, so don't freak out. He's not forgotten, okay? Okay, that closes the nomination, so it's time to rock the votes. Amy used MTV language. So how caucuses work is that candidates stand in corners and then people walk over and whoever's more people wins and is nominated. Amy explained to multitudes. When she gave the signal, people walked over to the corners for Samus or Tia Wan. It was really closey at the beginning, but near the end more people went to Samus because not everyone was too keen on having a Mexico president. And plus Samus was kind of hot. Thank you, voters, and congratulations to Samus Aran, who will now be voted at the Total Recall. Everyone pledged delegates to the football queen, even Tia Wan because he was still friends and a Democrat. Samus had won the Democrats, But what about the election? For the rest of the day, Samus was congratulated by people in the school, except not everyone, because Republicans were not quite as keen on Iranian policies. All right. Before the day was over, Trace and Amy wanted to have a word with the candidate. Good job on the nomination, but here's the deal. Amy began with the sentence. The election is going to be a tough one, but you're going to have some help. Trace and I will be your campaign managers, because I can help out with Democrat votes, and Trace can use underground connections to help with election totals. Amy finished up as Trace nodded with slyful grin. Okay, this is good, but who am I up against? Samus pondered as she awaited results from her staffers. At lunch, the Republicans had their primary, and Captain Falcon was chosen as the victor. Trace slyly foxed. Helen and Samus were not pleased at the news and reflected it with their demeanors. Captain Falcon was very popular because he was the captain of the track team and held every record, even some that were made up just for him. Some people said that he cheated by using a race car instead of running, but his parents had shitloads of money, so they paid judges, and everyone was okay. It's time for strategy. Amy began the plan. Okay, so Captain Falcon will probably try use money to win, but if we speak with truth and say what's right, people will vote. Amy optimized. Trace wasn't so positive because of experience in shady smoker room deals, but he knew that Samus had a shot, except there were Republicans everywhere and it'd be a tough one. Elections had been close, but in the end, someone always won. But would it be Samus? Over the week before the election, there were many deal seals and campaigns. Captain Falcon used his money like everyone thought and bought ads that smeared across the intercom. One even said that Samus did you know what with the lobbyist? For everyone unclear, lobbyists wait around in the lobby of Congress and buy drinks and tickets for senators so they vote for high gas prices and less trees. Luckily, Samus was a Democrat, so people knew she wasn't into that shit. It was a bumpy road, but it was time for the debate. Okay, welcome to 72 Memorial Debate. Principal Yokoi kicked off the dramatics. Everyone knows the candidates, and now it's time to hear from the issues. About the issues. The first question is for you, Mr. Falcon, journalized Silex, the president of the class newspaper. What are your feelings about global warming? Captain Falcon cooled with a simmering snap. My real question is, what are you feeling about global warming? Falcon sleaze-stepped the issues. All of the Republicans cheered because they were too stupid to understand what Falcon had not answered questions and was only sucking his guts. Thank you, Mr. Falcon. Dr. Samus, how do you feel about the World War III? Silex discretionized. Apparently she was still lying about having a doctorate. All eyes... Is she still pregnant or what? All eyes were on Samus as she formulated her petition, but she remained cucumber cool and answered, War is not the option, but if it's necessary, then it must happen for people. Many people clapped except for the Falcon Republicans who were too stupid to know about wars. Thank you, everyone. That concludes the debate, and it is time to choose the candidates. But remember not to choose popular people and only who your heart is after. Yokoi Disney channeled, but everyone knew that people would vote for the populist. But who was the most? The votes were just about to be tallied, and Samus was taking a walk through halls when she heard a strange rumbling, bumbling noise from the boiler room. What could it be? She investigated as she opened the door and was shocked to find a political machine. Ha ha! You caught us trying to rig votes with a copying machine! Snaked up Captain Falcon and ex facto Candon, who were joined with other Republicans. They looked serious, but Samus was too. This unescapable! Samus furied. She began to use jitsu signs and stances, but Candon summoned bodyguards. Who was it? Kraid and his gang! Luckily, Samus was used to fighting these losers, so she took them all out with her techniques and attacks, and soon they were piled on the floors. You may have defeated idiots, but what about me? captain. Falcon punched Samus, but she dodged, and dumbass Falcon fell out of the window he punched so hard. Camden ran away because he didn't want to get caught, but Hallmonder Noxus jailed him for conspiracies against the populace. And what about Samus? Congratulations, President Iran. Principal Yokoi inaugurated Samus to the presidency. And there were many cheers among the crowd, even a few rhinos who were sort of like Democrats. Everything was going well, but right as Samus signed the articles and was about to enact the A clause, a voice could be heard over the announcer. Hello to the people of the school. It is I, Emperor Falcon. I have taken the office, and I am now the president of the school. Principal Yokoi was befuddled, but he was a bozo cop and didn't even know what to do. The school was under siege. My first order of business is that Samus Aran, who thinks she's president of class, is arrested for treason against Falcon government. The captain hardlined, as you could hear Kraid and gang members in the background snacking and snacking at the situation. When she is arrested, she is to be killed and displayed for public appeal. Samus' eyes narrowed. She may have won the election, but would she win the insurrection? The Metroid High School election was over, and the Metroid Civil War had just begun. Okay, I wrote that in a huff, so I'm sorry if there were spelling mistakes or grammar bad, but I do the best I can. I hope next chapter isn't a year like last one, but things happen in life, and you never know. Until next time, love and prosper. I watched Star Wars this weekend. I can't wait for the new one with Matt Damon. Not a Treaky, but Damon's hot. Shit. Hello, everyone. Wow, it's been a while. It's been a little more than 3 whole years since I started writing Metroid High School, and I can't believe how many people have loved it. 63 reviews, almost 10,000 hits. I wouldn't have been able to do it without you guys. Are the best. Thank you. I was only 11 when I wrote Chapter 1 of MHS, and lots of things have happened since I started writing. But now I'm in high school, and I barely have more time anymore. 'Cause of school tests and my new boyfriend. He's real, not internetless time. So I don't exactly have time to write fanfic anymore. : open parenthesis. I have had chappies written for months on my hard drive, but I really just want to get the story finished on with life, so I have to set unload and take elements from each chapter for one big finale. Doesn't always exactly make sense all the time, but hey, it's epic, hopefully, and ties all the loose end. It's a fitful conclusion. I think that I've had enough for the talk. It's time for Chapter 8. Endgame finale. The halls of the high school. Metroid High School. Dances. Gossip. Girls. Students. Learning. Everything had happened. Samus and Ridley's ask-out. The football. The Clara. And even the election. Oh, that explains that, because the stuff was a prequel. She wasn't pregnant yet. But now, war stains. And the whole Civil War was raging before it had even started. Falcon's kitchen cabinet. Hey, and I learned about this in U.S. history. Andrew Jackson liked his buddies, so he gave them jobs eating food and partying in the White House. Was in control of the school. Luckily, Samus and friends were not pushovers, so it was a bloody situation. Mandy and Tio Wan were 2 of the people who were fighting in the onslaught. Tio, catch! Helen addicted as her Mexican. Who the fuck wrote this, Donald Trump? Caught the grenade she tossed at him. With teeth, he pulled out the tad and threw, killing 7 or more Republicans. Okay, Trump definitely didn't write this. Too bad one of the key hinters still had a trick up his sleeve, and it was a pistol. It fired at Helen, mortally wounding his soulmate. Tio 1! Helen coughed, but was cut off by the River of Death. Hello. Tio Wan was insoluble. This turned him into a killing machine. He had lost his favorite girlfriend his friend.
For war.
For what? The underground art room was where Samus, Amy, Adam, and Principal Yokoi were discussing war games, except not Warhammer or Battlefront, but the kind that countries do before a war. Except this one was already happening. What are we screwed? Principal Gunpei Yokoi extruded into the room. Luckily, no one noticed his bozo fits and carried on with the meeting. President Iran, here's the ordeal. Amy, her friend, and advisor protrude. Falcon and the Republican Army have learned how to clone key hunters. That's why there's so many bodies everywhere. This did not look like it was going to be a happy ending, but a shadow appeared in the corner, and it was a good thing they didn't shoot it because it was only Trace. If you can give me and the game dude time, I believe that we can call in reinforcements. Trace cavorted. No one liked industrial espionage, but they agree that just like Samus said in speech that things must be different when there's a war. Okay, I see the ideas, but what are we going to do in the meantime? Adam noted that there might not be enough time for Game Dude's scheme, and there were way too many enemies to take down with just pusses and political allies. That's when a voice was heard at the door, and it was someone that Samus did not exactly expect.
You have my body.
Ridley Lego last, and when everyone turned around, they saw he was Mecha Ridley, and was in a robotic combat suit like Metroid Fusion. Samus was happy to see him first, but quickly remembered everything. Sex. Cholera. Curventus. Was it too much? Wait, if that other stuff was a prequel, she's been present for... I'm not going to think about this anyway. I'm going to keep going.
Samus, I knew that things have happened, and maybe I'm too manhandle, but we must fight to save the school. Let's worry about things later, because we have lots of ass to kick right now.
Samus was speechless, but murmured, okay, because she knew that things were too important to bicker. The football president put on her power suit like when she played football, and together the two robotics joined the battle. There was a lot to deal, but at least they were finally together. Things were a disaster. Bodies were beginning to pile, and the halls were slippery with blood. Two friends, Chris and Johnny B, were with Mandy trying to enter Falcon's office headquarters through a secret door in the underground of the school. Too bad the Falcon knew the school too and rigged it with mines. Unfortunately for Mandy, she exulted as her body was derailed by explosives. John and Chris felt sorry for their loss, but they knew this was the price of war, and that if they didn't stop Falcon's inflation, it would just get higher. In another part of the battlefront, Samus and Ridley were using their new armor powers to do serious damage to the enemy bodies. Ted, Robbie, Smiley, and the heartbroken Tio-Wan were also contributing to the death toll, and it seemed that the tide was beginning to rise for the better. That was until an old enemy appeared, this time for the finals. Well, we meet again, crowned Kraid and his goons. You think you can win this war? You'll have to go through us. It's time to reveal the gang. Everyone was shocked as the true identities were revealed of Kraid's gang members. Silix, Noxus, Candon, Weevil, and Spire. The gang war began as Samus, Ridley, Tio, Ted, Smiley, and Robbie got into place to fight the enemies. Ted lunged at Noxus and shanked at him, but Silix was quick to notice and shot Ted in the foot. Both gangbangers were ended through, though, when Tio-Wan saved Ted's ass by firing Mexican machine guns at them, killing them in the head. Silix transformed into a machine gun turret and took out Robbie and part of Smiley, but Samus was quick to the draw and fired a super missile, vaporizing both Silix and Noxus. This did not make Candon happy, and the two ex-presidents battled it out. As usual, though, Samus ended up on top and shot electro powers into his brainstem. That left just Ridley and Kraid. You might have won the gang war, but what about this? Kraid injected enzytes in his arm as he began to grow massive. There was a hole in the ceiling when Kraid stopped getting bigger, and he started to stomp on students and even Ridley. I have you in my foot! Kraid soliloquized as he was about to step on Ridley's face, but... Silix! sinners! Mother Brain decloaked from her nun clothes and unleashed her Swiss Guard, that's the Pope Army, hand-training at Kraid and the Key Hunters. That gave Ridley just enough time to shoot his eye lasers at Kraid's foot, knocking the evil over. Uh-oh, the Grand Wizard rapped, but it was too late.
Fuck you in hell!
Chanted Ridley, and stuck his suit's robo-tail in Kraid's face. It was a lot of blood, but at least the score was settled. The war was ready to wrap up, but there was one last issue. The imposter president! Samus and her remaining allies were finally able to break into his office fortress. But where was he? Going somewhere! There was a voice. As they turned around, down the hall zoomed a race car that was armed like the Batman car in The Dark Knight. Captain Falcon! Samus and Co. condoled, but there was little use. Samus tried her powerful missiles at the car, but they just bounced off the hood and blew the doors off classrooms, exposing the children. Ridley used his mecha-suit powers to try to stomp the car, but Captain was too fast with his driving and dodged. His turn. Let's see who's the real president now, bitch! Captain Falcon bellowed the car intercom and used his presidential codes to arm the rocket tube with a mini-nuke. When it fired, everyone was sure that this was the end of Samus, but just in time her boyfriend jumped in front of the missile and took the blast himself. Luckily, his suit was radiation resistant. Unfortunately, the nuke blast damaged it beyond repair. Ridley was down, and so was Samus. Ha ha ha! My ride is indestructible! Falcon bandstanded. There wasn't a single weapon on Earth that could defeat my juggernaut. That's what we're here for! A sudden voice blasted through the roof, and when the dust cleared, there were 4 figures. It was Shazokes, Ethereal, Kroot, and Taildeer from Dark Crusade High School! And this part was written when Corventes and I were still internet dating. That's long gone, but why waste the story? I told you guys that reinforcements were on the way. The game dude and Trace revealed over the intercom, and Samus and Ridley were revealed, but not Captain Falcon. Time to seal the deal, Kroot landoed, and while he and Ethereal distracted the Falcon car by racing it through the hall at top gear, Taildreer and Shash did a power combine for one final blow. When the car rounded down the last corner, it unleashed, totaling the Jugger car and ending the driver. There were still last words, however. I may be dead, but you still lose. You've still got the cholera. Your debt is mine. The dead president gurgled as Samus so only she could hear him. The war was over, but the girl knew he was right. It's only a matter of time. Few people survive in war, but for those who do, it's worth it to save lives. This is what Samus was explaining to the survivors of Metroid High School. All her remaining friends were there, and so were her mom, Mrs. Chozo, and dog Sparky. Samus was giving a good, great speech, but she felt the darkness taking hold. Dark Samus and the cholera were finally taking over her body. When she collapsed on the floor, people began to crowd around and cry, "Please, is there—"
Away?
Ridley cried out to the gods.
There is,
confirmed Dr. Bonus, who drove up to the podium in a sport car, and revealing a hypodermic needle of serum in it. You found a cure! Everyone cheered. Dr. Bannis turned to her patient.
I may not agree with your sex, but I won't see a patient suffer, even a sin widow.
The doctor Hippocrates and injected the liquid into Samus' body. The cholera syndromes began to fade away, but the Dark was not ready to give up without a fight. Samus coughed blood, and a white began to flash. As Samus convulsed, Dark Samus began to materialize outside of her body.
Ha 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 ha.
Dark Samus satanically echoed.
Thanks to your cure, I'm finally free.
Dark Samus started running around, taking down students and teachers and eating their souls to gain power. Now that she was cured, Samus was at full power and did her best to fight Dark Samus before it inflicted too many casualties. Fortunately, Dark Samus was already far too powerful, and all that Samus could do was knock the helmet off of its body to reveal its identity. No one could have expected the truth. Coach Houston, you're Dark Samus? The entire school was shocked in disbelief. Houston only smiled with all his teeth.
I admit I made the Cholera. I couldn't have Ridley and Samus been dating because she needs to be a team player, and boyfriends take time,
Houston explained from experience.
There's nothing more important than sports, and you can't stop me.
Doesn't that not make sense in terms of the timeline of the story? Not exactly. At that moment, the doors flew open, and there was the sound of a gunshot. At the door was President Gerald Ford. Finally spelled it right if you're wondering he was still president when Metroid High School took place, with a sniping pistol in his hand and 50 Secret Service agents who took control of the situation. Huston was choked. His idol had just shot him in the face.
But you played football. Why?
Houston was confounded in the final moments of his life, but Ford explained, Everyone, sports can be fun to play and are good for bodies, but sometimes people take it too far. It's not worth it to make biological terror or start wars, but as long as you keep it clean, keep it real. The real president finished the speech, and with that he returned to the White House, leaving Ridley and Samus alone. This can't take place in the 80s. Green Day, My Chemical Romance, and Green Day was around the 80s, but they weren't popular yet. Everything was just about sorted out, but there was still one last thing that was troubling Ridley's mind. Samus could tell because they had been going out for a time, and she inquisited, Ridley, what's the issue?
Well, it's only 3 more days until the big prom, and I know we're not together anymore.
Ridley shuffled on confidently, but Samus was warm with a kiss. Ridley, I can't stay mad at you. You know the love when you feel it. And they kissed in front of the entire remaining school. Everyone cheered, including Principal Yokoi, Shaz, Kyowan, Amy, Mrs. Chozo, and even Cervantes cracked a grin. Guess he didn't really love her. At least not that much.
Damn,
thought Ridley for the final time.
I'm the luckiest guy in the universe.
Epilogue, 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 epilogue. Samus and Ridley went to prom together as a couple, but Samus' ex-boyfriends didn't do so bad at all. Cervantes went with 111 Samus Ridley Forever 2006 because they were both angsty and thought cool. And Amy went with Adam, not just because of their shared letters, but they had other commons. In George Bush's last minute in office, he excommunicated all aliens, so Tio Juan had to go back to Mexico in the middle of the night. Too bad for Bush, he ran for president of Mexico and won. My dad told me that Mexico will probably be more powerful than the United States in a few years, so that's not so bad. Principal Yokoi decided to retire after the events, but then he learned how to make video games for Nintendo. The timeline of this is just... and made the game Metroid based on everything that happened at Metroid High School. But Metroid Fusion... Stop it, brain. You're being loud. Stop it. You can't do that with this story. As for Samus and Ridley, they decided to stick together and see what happens. They decided to postpone the pregnancy. Oh, fuck this. Whatever, we're almost done. They decided to postpone the pregnancy until after marriage because even though Juno is a movie, teens don't always make parents in real life. And the next time they had sex, Samus remembered to have her own pregnancy test. After 3 years and 11 days, my fan fiction career has officially come to a close. I couldn't have done it without you guys, are the best. I've tried a lot of new things when writing, like words and ideas and all kinds of worriedness. And even though some of you don't like it and it didn't make sense the whole time, at least it's something. I'm going to miss you guys so much. But hey, don't forget the review. Thank you all so much. And never forget, Samus and Ridley, President Gerald Ford.